All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about a habits-based approach to fitness and nutrition. It's no secret that there are lots of articles written now about habit building and different apps that are out there and ways that you can use habit creation to help you get results, whatever that goal may be for you. So we're going to get into some of those strategies and then answer questions at the end. So, why a habits-based approach? Why is this important? Well, usually when people join a gym or start a fitness program or a nutrition program, they're looking for change. So if the why is change and I want to see where I am now to where I want to go, we want to try to build that slowly into someone's program. We're going to try to do it slowly, progressively, and sustainably over time. If we don't do that, we're going to get what we usually get with most fitness programs, and that's kind of mixed results, because the research is telling us in some change psychology research that best practices to make changes is that if you change one thing about your life, you're actually going to have an 85% chance of success. If you change two things, you're going to have a 35% chance of success. And if you change three things, you have about a 10% chance of success. Now, what do most people do when they go to change? They change their diet, they change their, what time they wake up in the morning, they change their fitness routine, they change, they're going to start calling their parents more, they're going to start going to church, they're going to change all these things, usually around like January 1st or January 5th, when people start to go for their resolutions. This is probably the worst case scenario for having those habits stick and be sustainable in the long term. So what are some strategies that we can employ to get those habits to stick? We want to make sure that there are little steps. These are things that are done daily. And I think the main thing is that you're able to track it. Now, whether you use paper or you use some type of technology or an app, I think that's all great, so that you can look back and really see if the things that you think you're changing are actually being changed. So one of the funny things, especially with nutrition, that over the years I've asked people, um, you know, if they stop getting results, they usually ask, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm coming to the gym. I'm training really hard, and they always say, my question to them is always, well, how's your diet? Like, what's that look like? And usually the answer is, oh, I have a pretty good diet. But then if you actually have them uh, set up their plan, and you show what they've actually done and have them track what they've done over time, you see that the diet maybe wasn't so good. So just tracking things on a daily basis, so you can look back at what you did yesterday, what you did a week from today, being able to see what the approach has been and how it's made, and if the things you're doing are working. It's going to give you a real time view of what's actually happening, and it's also going to give you an idea of what needs to change. If you tell me you think you need to change your diet or your training program, and I don't know what you've been doing over the last 2 weeks, it's really hard for me to make a change. Whereas if I have that documentation, we can do that. So something done daily, something that you can track. It's got to be easy to understand and measure. Keep it as simple as you possibly can. If just like weight training, if I'm not measuring how much weight I'm increasing every day, or if I'm not looking at portions and measuring those things, I really don't know specifically what needs to change. And then I think the habits need to be also feel small and inspire people. So if you give someone something super tough, they're probably not going to do it. And that brings me to my next box here, which is on a scale of 1 to 10. When you give someone a habit, or you're giving yourself a habit, it should be an 8, 9, or 10. If that habit feels like it's something that is a 5, like maybe I can do it, or a 2 or 3, like that's going to be tough. I don't know if I can do that. I'm giving somebody a habit that they're not going to be able to sustain and not going to be able to continue with. So we try to make it easy. So as an example, if a habit is to start drinking more water, and the person says, yeah, I don't know if I can get that 6 to 8 glasses in a day, that feels like a 3 or 4 to me. Even though the recommendation is probably not what I want as a coach, I'm still going to give them something smaller. Let's try to gradually build them towards being able to get that 6 to 8 glasses, if that's the amount of water that they need. And then the last thing that we'll say about some strategies is to always think of what's the next right step. I think sometimes we overwhelm ourselves with what, like, if we're trying to change a lot of things, but even if we're only trying to change one thing, it's like, what is the thing that I should do? Maybe it's you need to learn more. about training, or you need to learn more about nutrition and what you need to be doing, or learn more about yourself, or looking into different strategies that might help you that may be kind of out of the box. Maybe you just spending a few days researching might be more beneficial in the long term. Don't even change the things that you're doing today. Maybe it's mapping out a schedule for a few hours, sitting down, carving out the time, and mapping out what we're going to be doing. We're in quarantine right now and everything's shut down. It gets really easy to just kind of go with what's happening in the moment, and it's hard to have a schedule when you don't have to get to work, or have a workout time that you do things. So I think it's important to set that schedule up, make it a non-negotiable. Say at this time, this is what I'm doing. This way it's all completely clear, and you can stay focused. So your schedule is basically telling you what to do, instead of you kind of relying on your willpower all the time, which I think is another big mistake people make. And then getting accountability. Maybe you need a coach, maybe you need someone, a workout partner, or someone to do this with. I think there's a lot of value in community and having a group of people that support you and that are maybe going through the same things. That's another really, really powerful way to move the dial on the goals you're trying to achieve. So we'll kind of stop and go to some questions if you guys have any. We can talk questions about habits. We can talk questions about any kind of fitness or nutrition topics. We can also talk about what's going on in the gym at the moment, and what we see as next steps for us as well. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, Frank. One of the things that I wanted to ask was, okay, so you've got someone, you guys see somebody or someone like myself that wants to make 2 changes or 3 changes, in anything, not just fitness related things.
Yeah.
How do you approach, implementing the second thing, when you've mastered the first thing? Or so, okay, we'll use the example of glasses of water. If you're shooting for 6 to 8 and right, like a good negotiation, right, you make them feel like it's a win. You're getting them to drink 3 to 4.
Right.
But the bigger underlying issue is the amount of sugar they're taking in. So, when do you start going after sugar, or are you trying to get to 6 to 8 glasses of water? Or
I want to see that they're getting success. So we can start to add in things as they see success, as long as the next thing that we're giving them is still in that scale, an 8, 9, or 10. So, if I'm adding in a habit, typically I want to get that person to get to the right amount of water, get to the right amount of sleep, get to the right amount of maybe adding quality foods in first, and then talk about maybe eliminating stuff. Again, that's going to be a case by case, depending on the person, the personality, their knowledge of what's going on. I mean, you could have someone who doesn't even know that sugar is bad for them. I know that sounds bizarre, but that is sometimes the case. There's like kind of food knowledge and all those things that come into account. We can change things with doing these small changes, which they seem like small changes, but they're actually way bigger. Something like sleep, attacking, if their goal is, let's say, weight loss, and they're not sleeping, okay, yeah, they got a tremendous amount of sugar intake, but if I attack that sugar thing, they just have a belief system that's not correct around what is healthy food and what's not. So where am I going to be the most effective with that? And those kinds of people, as I mentioned before, they might need more of a coaching situation and accountability, something more long-term. Trust is a big piece of this as well. So, they've got to trust us. If we start to, tell them that everything they're doing is completely wrong and they have a belief system around that, it's going to be really tough for them to trust us. So that's another big piece. Let's attack some things that make sense to them, is simple for them, that maybe is going to move the dial on some of the weight loss, if that's the goal. If we can do that, we start to build trust, and then we can start to be a little bit more aggressive with what we're asking them to do.
So I guess, like, to kind of go back here a little bit, but systematically, so I say, like, go back to the water. Let's say, you agree on 3 to 4 glasses, and they're doing that consistently for whatever, you feel that is not, is consistent with a time frame. And then are you pushing for the, for the ideal situation with that before you go to step 2, or are you saying, okay, we've got them in 3 to 4, we're moving on, or are you
Yeah,
going to 6 to 8 and then going to
yeah.
the next thing? That, I
I
guess
think
that's
in
my
in
question.
that specific case, if it is trying to get them to just the importance of the water, the sleep, and being able to get some quality nutrition involved, and I think those are just some big rocks for us. That those are ones that we really want to get them to the right numbers.
Sure.
So that's a big one. That's a kind of a non-negotiable one. So I
Sure.
probably would try to get them closer to that bigger number, or if that is the number, if that's the amount that they need. So
Sure. Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
What are your best strategies you say for holding accountability? So, for example, I think some people don't really want to disappoint, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they'll come in and they'll say, "Yep, I drank my water, I did it," and just
Yeah.
stuff's not adding up. Like they did it.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
to hold them accountable?
Yeah, so I mean it gets tricky, it's just what made me think of it too is like, yeah, we want to motivate people and have them kind of like making their own choices. We kid around and say, well, with adults, they're already motivated by guilt, so let's just guilt them into it. No, I'm kidding, but we want them to kind of have ownership of what they're doing, and be the ones making the decision. So at any point, I mean, there are some times that it comes up, but I would like to try to be in a situation where we're not telling people what to do. Like they're coming to their own conclusions based on the results that they're getting. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the way we do that through the coach, and TJ in the gym does most of this. It's asking the right questions. It's not saying, hey, you need to drink more water. It's more like, hey, these are the facts. This is what's happening. By the way, there's water is a factor here. This is a factor here. This is a factor. What do you think the next right step is? So they're almost coming up with their own assignments most of the time. So if they're, maybe they're not staying accountable to us. It's more them staying accountable to themselves, and we're just asking the right questions to kind of push them in that direction. So, I mean, if it's water, or if it's, like a corrective exercise, you send them home and they say they're doing the work, but it can be only one of 3 things, right? It's either they're doing the work and they're doing the exercise wrong, right? Which in that case, we can say, hey, show me how you're doing it. The second one could be that they're not doing it at all and they're just lying. And the third thing is that the corrective exercise is not the right exercise for them. And in that case, it's on us. So we might be sending the person out and trying to attack the water, but maybe we didn't ask enough questions, and maybe it is sleep. So, it's, at some level, they've got to be honest with us. If they're not, I mean, we're just going to kind of go in circles every week.
Yeah.
But I think if we take that approach, I think it tends to work best, is not telling people what to do, but asking the right questions so they get to their own conclusions and almost come up with their own ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of how to approach it. Anything else, guys?
No, it's
I don't
great.
think so. I think
Good
that's it for
stuff.
me.
Cool. Yeah. All right,
I'm
guys.
gonna go get a glass of water.
Gonna go get a glass of water. Yeah, exactly.
I
Well,
don't know, I was
make
gonna
sure
say,
you
good
track
job,
it.
Eileen, with your water.
She's drinking her water. Yeah. If there's no time that we can track our water, now is, if we're not able to do it now, I don't know when we can do it. All right, you guys. Thanks for being
Thanks so
on.
much, Frank.
If you guys need anything, just reach out. Obviously, I'm available, and I will see you guys in a few days. Thanks a lot. Or I'll see you
All right,
tomorrow.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Frank.
Take care. Bye bye.